His Excellency A.N.R. Robinson was the third president of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and he was the first president who came in with a background of active political experience. And that was a testing time for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, the thing is, he was a politician, but he was also a politician who was respected, maybe not thoroughly loved, but certainly respected by the majority of the population in Trinidad and Tobago.
His tenure reflected some measure of upheavals here and there while he held that office, and there were some controversial decisions that he had made, and because of his political background, that didn't help to keep him with an image that was above the cut and thrust of the everyday politics, which was rather unfortunate.
He did several things that seemingly upset the status quo. So, for instance, when Prime Minister Pandey attempted to nominate certain senators who had been defeated at the polls, the president says, no, stop, you shouldn't be doing that.
The Prime Minister had made his selectees from persons who had contested elections and lost. And that was not considered correct and moral in the eyes of the president. And he challenged it because he refused to swear them in.
The Constitution is the Constitution, and he had to work within the confines of the law, and he had ultimately to make the appointments as directed by the Prime Minister for the senatorial positions. Greater moment came a year later, in 2001, when we had the 1818 tie in the elections, and then President Robinson was now forced to select a Prime Minister in a tied situation.
President Robinson had to exercise his deliberate judgment as to whom he thought controlled the majority of in the House of Representatives, and he chose Mr. Patrick Manning as Prime Minister.
This was something that was done against all principles that were established by the Westminster system, because whenever there was a tie, the incumbent government, the outgoing government, would be invited to reconvene and have another election.
Well, 1990, that provided a big challenge, how that should best be handled, and it generated a furor in the nation because people were torn apart, those who were most negatively affected, and other people who thought, there was a wrong there.
I admired him. I think I don't know if the entire country admired him. But for a man to stand up, to sit there, and for a gun to be at him, and being told to say certain things and go against them and say those famous words, attack with full force. You could see that he was a true Caribbean man, a true people person, because he knew he had the vision of what was going to happen if he had done what he was instructed to do, right? And he didn't do it. I think that to some extent broke the back of the attempted coup.
President Robinson forced many of us to go back and study our constitutions, to learn about the Constitution, to learn about Trinidad and Tobago, and what are the rules. Because for instance, when he refused to appoint the senators in 2000, people said, but president can't do that. And others were saying, but that's the role of the president. And people were forced to study the Constitution. Again in 2001, when the 1818 tie came about, again we were forced to study the Constitution. So that's the context in which now we understand President Robinson's tenure.
Arthur Napoleon Robinson, or better yet, Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson. We fondly call him Uncle Ray. He was born in Calder Hall grew up in Castara. That was in 1926 on the 16th of December. Went to school in Castara, where Granddaddy Robinson was the headmaster. There were 4 other siblings. Auntie Cynthia, Uncle Len, my father Lionel, and there was one more nobody most people don't know about. That would have been Uncle Rory. He was the eldest, but he had passed. He eventually decided to pursue law, but as the monies, the finances weren't available, he did it correspondence. Succeeded and eventually went to London, called to the bar. He went to Oxford after because Granny, he was communicating with Granny and said, I want to go further. So he wanted to go Oxford. She said, you proceed. Because the monies were available, some monies were available for him to continue then. At Oxford, he was involved in debating. I think that's where the initial politics came into it. On his return to Trinidad, he started to work in the government service. In between that time, he got married to Andy Pat, Patricia Rawlins. Her maiden name was Rawlins, and they had two kids, Anne Margaret and David. I would go by him often, and then one day he started to say, "Hey, big man, reach!" Right, so that was enjoyable. Every time, big man, right? And then he also said, Adlai, you read the Bible? You must read the Bible.
Mr. Robinson was a very articulate person. He had a lifetime of experience in politics, and more than that, he had a very good record of struggling throughout his life.
In his view, country came first. Country before anything else.